They hid the truth in shadows, but every heart can find its light.
To Boise, Idaho, where the confessed killer of 4 university students was sentenced to life in prison without the possibility of parole. Relatives and friends of Bryan Kohberger's victims gave often emotional impact statements. Kohberger declined the chance to address the court and shed any light on why he did what he did. He confessed last month in order to avoid the death penalty. Correspondent Dan Springer is in Boise, Idaho tonight with the latest. Good evening, Dan.
Good evening, Brett. Bryan Kohberger is leaving a major question unanswered tonight as he received the exact penalty that he agreed to along with prosecutors in order to keep him from the death penalty. 4 consecutive life terms with no chance for parole. It was an emotional hearing today. Family members of 3 of the victims, Madison Mogan, Kaylee Gonzalez, and Xana Kernodle, confronted Kohberger. Some mocked him.
Police officers tell us within minutes they had your DNA, like a calling card.
But did they really have Bryan Kohberger's DNA? We'll have to take a look at the documents, because back in February 2025, in fact, there was DNA analysis that claimed the mixture of DNA was not, I'll repeat, not Bryan Kohberger. And at that time, Ann Taylor, Bryan Christopher Kohberger's lead defense attorney, shared startling new information that would shape the foundation of her trial defense. Ann Taylor revealed that blood from a still unknown male had been found on the stair handrail at 1122 King Road. In addition, blood from another still unknown male that had been found on a glove outside the home. Even Judge Stephen Hibbler wondered out loud in a hearing, does this suggest the potential of other persons involved? And he said that didn't exclude Kohberger. He was quick to add that statement. But the unknown blood did raise the possibility that there might have been accomplices in the murder. Taylor was prepared with her own theory. Perhaps she offered one of the 2 unknown males whose blood had been found had planted Kohberger's DNA at the scene. It was never confirmed that Kohberger had any direct connection to this home or these individuals. However, it was never even confirmed that it was his vehicle along the said routes.
The circus isn't coming to town and they can avoid this trial, or are they so embedded with the families there that they wanted more closure for them?
Moscow is a pretty complicated little town. It's in its own way, it's sort of like Twin Peaks. I mean, what you have is in one part of the town is a very liberal university. The University of Idaho is ranked as the biggest party school, #1 party school in the state. The major church group in this town is sort of a right-wing fundamentalist Christian group that wants to create a what they call the American Redoubt. That's their word, which would be sort of a Christian capital of America. They were very anti-vaccination. They've been suing the town. There were death threats on the police before these murders. So the town is really, as one lawyer involved in the case told me when I was interviewing him, the town is at the verge of a civil war, he said. So into this town, which is already full of torment and tumult, becomes 4 murders. I think this town is ripped apart forever. And talk about cynicism. The university decides to get rid of the murder house. It's the university's decision. They were given the house on King Road where the murders occurred. Why did they decide to tear this down? Well, because when visiting families would come with their prospective students to the campus, one of the main tour stops was the murder house. and this didn't set the right impression. So in the zeal to get new students, they tore down this house thinking it would all go away. But this is not going to go away. This is literally a curse on this town for generation to generation to
Howard,
generation.
You've been in the game for a very, very long time. Very, very successful. New York Times. Now what you're doing with airmail. How about you? You've had to dig deep into this thing, and you've seen a lot. You've talked to people. You've felt the pain of the parents. You know details that other people don't. Has this affected you at all? Because there's a lot of disturbing elements in this thing.
It's been a very personal journey for me. As I said, I'm the father of 3 children. Your heart goes out to the parents. I mean, on one breath, you feel yourself lucky. Thank God this didn't happen to me. And at the same time, it's just hard to deal with what's happened to them. Also, though, there's a lot of antagonism in this town. For someone coming in, New Yorker like myself, coming in, poking around, it was very difficult to get to the bottom of things. There also was a gag order to see in the weeks ahead. The gag order was introduced not long after a Kohberger was arrested. That was 7 weeks after the murders. That meant that the prosecutors, the law enforcement people couldn't talk. I'd gotten out there earlier, so I've made some introductions. But now, perhaps the floodgates will open, and now perhaps make a call to a lawyer, make a call to a police officer, and maybe they'll be more candid. It'd be interesting to see.
Yeah, so they weren't real welcoming to you, the way it sounds, but you had to develop some relationships there with law enforcement, the attorneys, etc. Did they soften over time, or are they still real anti about big city folk from New York, writers coming in and doing what they do?
I'll tell you one small story without mentioning names. When I first got out there, I was looking for a place to stay. So I'm driving around the campus area, and I see one hotel, motel, that says discounts for federal and state employees. So I figured federal and state employees, that means FBI and state troopers. So I check in there, I go down to the bar with my American Express card, and each night, and I'm not saying an FBI agent can be bought for a free beer, but by the third beer, he's becoming a little less antagonistic and a little more.
Well, that's a savvy journalist right there, man. You got to know what you're doing, right? And I bet you got some great information too.
I got some stuff. Yeah. There's still a whole story. The gag order was very tight. As things started leaking, the screws were turned by the federal government. Also, the federal government had things they wanted to cover up. For example, the way they got the DNA in this case, they went to DNA websites, genetic websites that had inventories of people giving in their DNA that they were prohibited from accessing, and yet they accessed them. This was in violation of the terms of the website. If one of the people on that website wanted to sue the federal government or the FBI, they might have a case.
And in fact, a website was made. It's justice4FOURALL.com, so that you can go and review each individual document to spread awareness in regards to the Bryan Kohberger case in the state of Idaho. You can see all the court documents, all the FBI DNA analysis, all the experts' testimony, all the ISP photos and redacted police reports from the Idaho State Police and Moscow Police. You'll even see the information from the Pullman Police Department. It's all there for your viewing.
3 different DNAs found underneath Maddie's fingernails, and none of them Bryan Kohberger. None of them Bryan Kohberger.
So they had the knife sheath with a miraculous DNA match, but minuscule amounts, and apparently only touch DNA, which, as we discussed in episode 2, is not exactly a smoking gun. Touch DNA. A defense attorney can do a lot to poke holes in touch DNA.
Developments out of Idaho, where a court filing in the case against Brian Kohberger is revealing some potential that there's a three-person mixture in the DNA found underneath the left fingernail of victim Madison Logan.
There's a reason why there's so much secrecy. What if I told you that forensic science isn't always the open and shut case that we might think it is?
I should imagine this briefly. A loved one is hurt or killed in a crime. Someone's finally arrested. You go through the endless trials, and someone is incarcerated for the crime. You think you're done with it. 12 years, 20 years later, you hear they got the wrong person. That's the kind of thing that we're trying to avoid. And so in order to do that, we have to constantly be looking at our techniques to see how to improve them. And so I'm going to talk about some issues in my own field that I've seen in my work. I work in all 50 states now. I have cases overseas, Asia, Africa, Europe. And some of the things I've seen that I'm concerned about and that I've raised at professional meetings, some of it's never been shown before, and I'll show you tonight. So we'll be talking about forensic DNA errors. I don't want you to think it's all bad. It's not all bad. It's a great field. It's my life. And I'm going to break it into two categories. One is statistical and interpretive errors, so things where the conclusions are wrong based on human reasoning and mathematics. And the other one is contamination, which is kind of easy to understand. Somebody spills some DNA or it gets transferred. And then I'll tell you what my lab here in Boise is working on in the contamination area very briefly. So we'll have the first slide. I'm going to turn you into DNA experts. Get ready for science. Here it goes. This is the easy stuff. This is a single source. I can teach you guys to do this immediately. Let's say I decide I'm going to commit a crime with this. It's clean, it just got out of the dishwasher, and there was bleach in the dishwasher, so it has no DNA on it. I touch it, and I go to the front row, and I commit a murder. Okay, the police come, they do the spatter, they collect some of the blood to identify the victim, they see my fingerprint, and I always carry a swab. They take, I really do always carry. They take a swab, they swab it, and what's really nifty about these swabs is you can just knock the ends off, but I'm going to pull it and put it in here. I should be wearing gloves, etc., etc. Okay. Now the issue is, am I the murderer, right? So here.
Did they in fact get the DNA wrong? There's still 2 unidentified male DNA at the scene of the crime. Who could potentially be the murderer on the loose?
The ashes stir, phoenix wings unfurl, seeking truth beneath the blur. Turnings for the lax, there meet the blur. Out the flames I rise, wings scorched but unbroken. Truth's the blaze I wield, every rhyme's a token. In the nest we move, hearts stumping unison, searching for the light where the system cuts our wisdom. Built on lies and steel, they boxed us in cages. Now we break the locks, rewrite history's pages. Innocent until proven guilty, that's the oath we recite. Under this constitution we ignite the night. We rise like a phoenix in sync, we claim the street. Nest seekers united, our freedom can't be beat. Stand up when one falls, yeah we got your back. In a free land unbroken, we launch the righteous attack. Justice for the voiceless, break the chains of deceit. Innocent till proven guilty, our victory's complete. System cracked at the seams, built for just a few. We rip apart the scheme, bring the truth into view. Movement swells like thunder, souls fueled by conviction. Phoenix souls aligned, demanding our new vision. Marching on the courthouse, banners paint the sky. Echoes of freedom roar, watch the old guard comply. No more hidden verdicts, no more secrets sold. Every voice is a weapon, every story be told. Innocent till proven guilty, that's our final decree. Under this constitution we stand forever free. Phoenix in the dawn, truth ignites the sky. Together we stand tall, no more asking why. Listen up.